shalom daika shade. All right, so this is in A minor, and originally in C minor. When I transcribed it, 440 hertz is the tuning for it. Most of what I've encountered within the KS, Keylontic Science, Freedom Teachings catalog, when it comes to these songs, they're in 440 hertz. And it's a common thing to tune to. Most pianos, especially acoustic pianos, would be tuned to 440. So, no big deal. It's really not. A lot of people make an issue out of that, and there's really no reason to make an issue of it. Because your intention is everything, and everything else is really pretty much a preference. If you recognize yourself as a God-sentient being, your will and your intention is the catalyst to manifestation. So you can choose whatever tuning you wish, but don't make an issue out of it, please. So I decided on transposing this into A minor, and then to be able to modulate with it. In other words, change keys, move up from A minor to B minor, C minor, and then D minor is what I've done here. And the reason for that is just in order to have the option and to be able to play it in different keys. But the A minor is a, friendly tuning, or should I say a friendly key for the guitar. So hence the reason for me really tuning it or transposing it to A minor. Now, just for reference sake, this is a very particular style of music that comes out of the Messianic movement. For those that don't know what the Messianic movement is or was, I'm sure it's still going on. But this is in reference to Jews for Jesus, if anybody's heard that. People who are in the Jewish community embracing Yeshua HaMashiach as the Messiah. Okay? That is Jesus, as we know as Jesus. Anyhow, I was part of that movement, and this is not about if you believe that or not. It doesn't make any difference. I'm just saying this is where this style of music comes from, because it predates the Keylontic Science movement. Okay? And this style of music, which is a celebratory dance music where it speeds up at the end, okay? Like I said, it's been around for a long time. So it's nothing new, all right? Just so you know. It's not an original thing that came out of Keylontic Science. Actually, most of the stuff that I hear in Keylontic Science sounds very much like that music that I was part of, okay? So I'm used to all that, so I know it's not really original. Most of what I hear outside of the language that is being used, quote unquote, Anahazi, okay? Which actually a lot of it sounds like Hebrew. It also sounds like Latin, but a lot of it sounds like Hebrew. And sometimes I'll see certain Hebrew words and I think it's Anahazi because it's so close, okay? This is part of my background. So, like I said, I was in ministry for like 15 years. I was in the church for 27 years. So nothing really gets by me. All right. So that being said, there's nothing wrong with borrowing from other styles of music or whatever. That's fine. And I'm just saying it's not original. Although there is some songs that do sound original, like as the example, the prayer of deity or the vow, which is the same melody, different words. And that's in 442, by the way. The reason why I know that is because I orchestrated that, and you'll find that on my YouTube channel, where Sabrina Woolley was the one who sung that song and played the piano on it. And so I added contrabass, cello, violin, harmony, wrote those parts in there, and then I doubled what she was playing on piano on my classical guitar. And then I mixed it here and there and enhanced it and made it better, because I loved it. I thought it was quite beautiful, and people just adore that, and most people would never even think to say, oh, is it in 440 or in 432? No, it's in 440. So again, no worries about the tuning. It's a preference. Whatever you want to do is fine. No big deal. Anyhow, the reason why I decided to do a different arrangement for it, as far as stylistically, was so that one could contemplate what they're singing. And what I come to understand, because of what I had developed earlier, a couple years or whatever it was earlier on my own, I developed what is called the sound and light techniques, which is really taken from one word, which is the word octave. That word octave caused me to come up with those techniques, or be inspired to create those techniques. And it was solely based off of really the electroharmonic spectrum, and then looking at it from our perspective in relationship to our science here, and the harmonic structure in relationship to music, and I came up with the sound and light techniques. I did incorporate the KS material because it enhances it, but it's not required. Okay? KS material is not required for this. But when I was doing that, I started seeing this intervalodic relationship within the dimensional consciousness bands that make up the, manifest universal structure. We see the hue moving from red. This is visual light, right? Visual light, we see the hue moving from red and different shades of red, right, which is frequency spectra or oscillation of frequency, okay? Well, that consciousness band, which is dimension 1, then moves into orange, which is 2, and then yellow, which is dimension 3. And we can see this within the electromagnetic spectrum. And you can see, because we're talking about frequency, I can assign an approximation like you would with any tuning. So I started to notice, because of my work with my own technique, that when I started looking at this, which I retitled this as the universal tones of co-creation, and initially it's called the magic words of co-creation, and I didn't care for that all that too much. So it's important to be able to change the name because of the trademark and copyright stuff, fanaticism that goes on with that production team. If I'm going to use any of this stuff, I have to make something new out of it as well, in which I prefer to do anyhow. Once you understand something, it's important for you to be able to create something new. Before I get into where I'm going with this in regards to, there's more depth to the contemplation for the reason for the arrangement, okay? So it's not just a matter of singing the tones, it's understanding what's going on harmonically with it, okay? Which is quite relevant, to your multi-dimensional structure and being able to navigate as well as to be able to move energy. And it's very impactful. So there's something that I noticed when I looked at this, and I go, wait a second, I'm looking at these movements of the intervals of thirds harmonically within the dimensional tones, and also that which is outside of the dimensional tones within the primal sound fields going into the primal light fields. There is a movement in thirds. I don't know if that was deliberate, the way this was put together for that, but it is quite significant. When going through my sound and light techniques, I've seen this intervalodic movement harmonically, within the dimensional band structure. And I'm going, interesting. Then so when I looked at this, I start transcribing it, and then I started noticing, I go, wait a second, this is moving in thirds. So Uma-e is the first movement. Okay, Uma-e, tre-inai, ekasha. That's the first movement, okay, which is initiating. When you look at the second section or the second phrase, which is ire, sha, ra, di, ke, she, ta, amira, prana, chi, within that you can see a movement in thirds. And then when it moves to the next part, which is the third section, it's mano ekre da kuki ma'a yana treari. You see again a movement in thirds. And again for the fourth, mane ka iha hura hara mea mana ki. Again, thirds. And like I said, it goes all the way up, back, should I say, to the primal sound fields and into the primal light fields and throughout the harmonic universes in manifest reality. And that's very specific and very significant. You know, I've been saying for a long time, you can look at the structure of manifest reality in different ways, you know, harmonically, electroharmonically, electrotonally, electromagnetically. I prefer to look at this structure harmonically and musically, because when I start, as an example for what this is, when I start to look at some of this, I start seeing the significance of harmonic movement, the movement of intervals, you know, and it's very specific, okay? And here's the thing. Here's the clincher. When you learn well enough how your multi-dimensional anatomy works, you can come up, like I said, you can come up with your own techniques. And if you're a songwriter, or if you would like to be, or you like to contribute with that, authentically, once you know how it works, you know, I'll use a simple analogy. If you know how to ride a bike, once you learn, you don't need to relearn to ride it each time you ride it. And like this, when you learn about your multidimensional anatomy on this level, this is my conviction, once you get it, it sticks. You're able to authentically come up with your own techniques, and if you're a songwriter, you can come up with techniques using song. Okay? You don't have to follow. Once you learn how to ride the bike, so to speak, maybe that's an over-exaggeration as far as an analogy to be used, but it's sticking. That's the whole point. I want it to stick. Once you know, you don't need to re-know. You just now need to develop the skill, right? So me putting this together the way that I have as far as the arrangement is more slower and more contemplative. So when you sing it and then you study it as well, and then sing it and study it to where you kind of get it, takes a while. It really does. But once it sinks in, and also in relationship to studying your multidimensional anatomy and learning how to move energy and why it's going the way it is, and then you start relating it, you know, especially musicians, if you start relating it to music, it makes so much more sense, and you can feel into it a lot deeper, and you can get so much more out of it, okay? Because your intention is everything. It's sort of like, you know, here's another analogy. If I'm, like what I'm playing here, it's new. But if I played it for quite a while and kept working at it and developing, rehearsing it, so to speak, after a while, my skill level starts to get better with it, and then I'm more expressive with it because my conviction and through my intended expression becomes more pronounced. It becomes more immediate within that moment. My energy is there. I'm confident of what I'm doing. Physically, I can do it, and so forth. You see where I'm going with this? So the more that you acquaint yourself with this, you don't need to move on to something else. Learn this part, then see, okay, now I'm going to bring this part into it and say, oh, I see how it correlates. And then you put it into practical application. That's what this is for. You know, even if you're not a musician, to be able to sing it, and you don't have to be a singer to sing it. Okay? You don't. right? Obviously. But this allows you to immerse yourself within it deeper and deeper, and you can contemplate it. And for those that want to do what I'm presenting here, I encourage you to do it the way that you want to do it. If you want to learn it the way that I'm learning, that's fine. But my encouragement is do what comes natural to you. Here's the tools. Here's the progression. You can play it different ways. Play it your way. Find your own tempo. Do whatever you want with it that feels right for you. Make it your own. That's really important as far as I'm concerned. So, at any rate, I'll leave this by saying I may be selling my mobile home because that's been looming over my head for a long time, because ever since I became disabled, which I don't get any money for my disability, by the way, they denied me, just to say. But I've been living under poverty for a long time, and I won't live under this pressure anymore. I can't do the work that I would really like to be able to do. I can't take care of myself properly, and it's just nonsense, okay? So if I can't continue to be able to pay my rent, which is always down to the wire, I'm going to be selling this place. I'm going to actually get an agent. I thought of selling it myself, but it's too much work. And I'm going to get an agent so I can get somebody to help me, because I really need help. And I will sell this place, and where I go, I don't know. But I will stop doing this. I'll do it somewhere else, but I'm not going to do it online anymore. I'll be done with it. I'm too old to be messing around and gone through too much to be farting around with any of this stuff anymore. That just seems to be like pulling teeth a lot of the times. So I would love to be able to do some workshops with this. I like to be able to teach guitar if somebody's interested in music, piano, any aspect of music really, anything that my skills would allow for, that I have the ability to be able to teach, which is, I have a bit under my belt. I have some skills. So I like to be able to stay where I'm at, because it's a hardship to leave. There's no question about that. I'm old, and it's true. I'm old, and I'm older in body, but if I can keep doing this stuff, it's what's allowed me to continue to do what I've been doing, because it's been a process of healing for me, but I can't have burden of survival and dealing with physical elements in my body, sometimes overwhelmingly, and just barely surviving and not knowing whether or not I'm going to lose this place. I can't deal with that anymore. So there has to be a change within this month, within coming into the next month. There has to be a change. And I've been praying and saying, and been talking and discussing with those who have ears to hear within the universe that would help me in the process. And I want to let it be known to everybody enough to where those who are paying attention and can do something can help assist me in some way with this. And if I don't get anything back from it, then I know there's my answer, and I will sell the place and I'll be gone. I will no longer do this anymore. But, there it is. There's a whole lot I would love to be able to finish, but it's not up to me. It really isn't. I mean, up to a certain point, of course, but after that, and I've kind of had enough of struggling. It's been something, I'm telling you. For those that don't know, I was hospitalized 7 times within the last year and a half. Okay? And I had an episode last night, and it lasted all night and into the morning, and I just was able to sleep a little bit this morning. And I need to be able to take care of myself, and unfortunately you need dollar bills in order to do that here. It's not a very hospitable world. So there it is, folks. Let me know because one of the things I want to do is be able to do courses with a lot of this stuff. but I rather do like workshops and just charge for a workshop. And for people who are interested in music and learning certain things, I can do one-on-ones, certain sessions for whatever you would want to do. Anything that I can do in order to be able to get some consistent income, because what I have thus far doesn't cut it, you know. I'm just barely skating by, and I'm really dependent on donations for the most part. I get a little bit coming in from YouTube, a little bit, and then I get the amount that I get coming in from Patreon, which equals about half of what I need, close to half of what I need for the month just to survive with the rent and paying the internet bill. That's it. Okay? I need to survive, and then I need some so that I can make sure this place doesn't fall apart and I can have extra when I need extra. Just basic stuff, you know. I know it's a sad state of affairs, but it is what it is. So there you go, folks. Thank you. Hopefully this was beneficial and helpful in some way in your understanding in regard to how deep this stuff can go. So, all right, folks. Thank you. Blessings.